Hello, seasoners. Welcome back to the Travel and Tourism Podcast, my first season. My guest journey with Club Med began when she was just 2 years old, experiencing her first stay at Club Med Sandpiper in Florida. Growing up, with her mother working as a travel agent, my guest had the chance to visit various resorts over the years. Inspired by these experiences, she decided to apply to Club Med at the age of 22. After an interview in New York City, my guest embarked on her first season in 2009 as a boutique geo. Please help me welcome from Rochester, New York, Michelle Chaba. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course. Happy to be here.
All right. So, as I said in your intro, we like to start at the beginning, but you sent me a lovely photo of you when you were a baby, and your mom is holding you, what I believe to be was it Club Med Sandpiper that she's holding?
Yeah, that's right in the bar at Sandpiper that I would come to spend many, many nights in as a young woman.
Okay. That's true. Who knew, right? Way back.
I know. I had no idea then.
All right. So as far as far back as you can remember, your mom was in travel and tourism, correct?
My mom got into the world of being a travel agent when she was 18. She went to a trade school and she's been a travel agent ever since. So I was very lucky to be brought up in a way where we traveled very often. We went to all different resorts, mostly in the Caribbean, Mexico. We being in Western New York, the winters were very cold and it was a great excuse to get away from them. And so, yeah, we went to Club Med when I was 2. We went to Sandpiper. When I was about 10, we went to Club Med Paradise Island, which was really beautiful. And I have a lot of memories from there. And then we went to Sandpiper, I think again when I was in my like later teens. So it was always a part of my life. And just the all-inclusive experience was something that I was very familiar with and felt very, very fun and inviting and comfortable to me.
Yeah, in a way, even though your mom wasn't a GO, you're still kind of a Club Med baby, right?
I would say so. Absolutely. The idea of Hands Up, that Hands Up song,
Yes.
has played throughout my life, I feel like. It was
Okay.
something that was so catchy that I feel like my mom was always singing it. So it always feels good to hear it.
And you can probably do that crazy sign in your sleep, right?
Absolutely, I could.
Okay. What compels you at 22 to decide to apply?
Well, I think being in my early 20s and thinking that I knew everything, I just was over being in Western New York. Why am I living here? I live in the same town that I grew up in. I had gone to college in Niagara Falls, so not too far away, still in this cold, kind of sad, wintry place. And I just wanted to do kind of anything but be here. And had remembered Club Med, remembered the whole idea that the GOs had told us when we had been there of being able to be there for 6 months and then essentially travel all over the world. And I just thought it sounded like the opportunity of a lifetime. So I applied and I didn't hear back. I applied in April. I heard back in September. They asked me to come for the interview in New York City in October. And then at the end, well, beginning of December, they asked me to come out a couple days later. So it was not easy to find white shorts in December, I can say that. But I made it work.
What do you remember about your interview? Was it a group of you that went in? Did they make you do crazy signs on stage or tell a joke or something?
They didn't, because that would have probably scared me. I was not in a group. I talked with other GOs when there, and I feel like I was one of the few that did not have a group interview. Mine was a one-on-one interview. I don't remember the woman that I interviewed with, but I'm fairly confident that Hammer was at the place they were holding interviews. Because I know my mom talked to somebody. She came with me for that. And I remember her talking to someone that had been there for a long time. And for some reason, I don't know if I just want to put him in that role, but I know it was somebody, a recruiter from Club Med that was there.
And after you left the interview, about roughly how long did you wait to get the call?
I would say within 2 weeks, they emailed me and let me know that my background check had checked out and basically said that when there wasn't a position open, but once a position opened, I would be their first, I'm like next in line for that job. So that was at the end of we went the October 2nd was my interview. I would say I heard back like middle to end of October. Then the middle of November, my recruiter had called me and told me that they had something to come December 10th. And then because it was 2009, I still had a flip phone. Like it was just not the level of communication we have with people today. I guess I could say we played phone tag for a couple of weeks and I didn't hear. It was very confusing. I'm still not totally sure of what happened. I think I remember talking to my boss when I got settled in Club Med, and he said that there was a GO that was kind of on the fence about staying or leaving because the village was closed. Sandpiper had closed for some renovations, so they were closed at the time, getting ready to reopen at the beginning of December. And so I think they were going back and forth with me because they were going back and forth with a GO who was already there about whether or not she was staying or going, and which led to little miscommunication. So December 1st, they told me I had no job. And then December 2nd, she called and said, actually, can you be here on the 5th? And I said, can I come on the 10th like you originally told me? Because I got to get my whole life together. I was very appreciative that they gave me that little bit of leeway. So I went on the 10th, and I think the resort opened on maybe the 12th or 13th. So there were a couple days that it was just the geos there getting settled before they reopened, which was cool. It was definitely a unique experience than what I've heard other people on the podcast talk about, for sure.
When you were at the interview, did you say that you wanted to be a boutique geo, or that's where they needed you?
I'm sure that that's what they offered to me. I worked for a couple different retail stores. That was my work experience. So the thing that made the most sense. I was going to school for psychology, so that wouldn't have really played into anything as far as like if I were like a theater major or something, they probably would have wanted me for animation. But boutique is the thing that suited me the best and definitely something I had experience in.
Did you say you were studying psychology?
I was, yes.
Did that come in handy at the boutique, like the psychology of the customer buying and
It
all
has
that?
never not come in
No?
handy.
Okay.
I would say in my life. I think people are really interesting. Certainly part of my naive, 22, 23-year-old, not fully formed brain is what encouraged me to take this job and up and leave everything that I knew and do something different, which was a good thing. But I think it also left me pretty green to just the world and being around people like that and being sort of more or less on my own. So the psychology part of it, I think my inclination to want to be around people and want to get to know people definitely played a wonderful, incredible role in my experience in Club Med.
And even though you've been going to Club Med, basically your whole life, was it any different when you first arrived in Sandpiper in 2009 to start working there? Or
Oh, it
were
was
you
totally
like,
different.
oh, really? How so?
I would say it was totally different because I was on the other side of things. I was seeing behind the curtain. I in how people would have culture shock to be there and have to get the feeling of, in my experience, I feel like all inclusive sort of run, and I'm sure it was a Club Med thing since Club Med was the first all inclusive. It's their template, right? That they kind of run on a weekly schedule. So because I had traveled as often as I had that feeling of like, well, tonight is fancy night and tonight is all white night because other hotels have copied that. So that part of it was familiar to me. The structure of like every week is sort of the same in a way. that definitely prepared me for it. But I think being on the other side of the part I wasn't prepared for was just working long days and having to sort of always be on, not in a bad way, but just like being with the guests and not having a lot of time to myself was something that was the culture shock part of it for me that I did not experience because I think it's the way that little kids think their teachers love being at school when the teachers are like tired and they're working a lot. It was sort of like that of like not understanding that the people all of what went into making this an incredible vacation was sometimes a little bit exhausting. It's fun. Other people and you're all kind of tired together, but in a good way, in a fun way. I just didn't anticipate that until I was in it.
What can you tell me about your first season there? What do you remember?
It was so incredible to get there. So I got there December 10th and being in Florida and it's Christmas time, but it's warm was so cool. It was such a strange feeling of and being around these people from all over the country, all over the world, getting to know one another. I would say the majority of I think there were maybe like 75 geos that started out. The more majority of us were all in the same like I'd say between like 23 and 27. So that was cool just hearing about other people's backgrounds. I remember the first night they had this almost like a cocktail reception for us. Because, like I said, there were no guests. It was just the geos that were there. And they had it set up at the sailing shack. So we're right on the river. And it's like the sun setting. There's dolphins jumping in the river. And it was the most surreal, like, wow, this is so cool. It was like I left New York and I woke up in this like little, and that was amazing.
I'm sorry, Michelle, did you say dolphins in the river?
I feel like it was dolphins in the river.
Okay, I never heard that one, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Okay.
I mean, there was something that was
Some kind of
I
fish. Okay.
yes, it was
Mammal.
some kind of fish.
Okay.
Maybe in this memory that I have, I'm
Yes.
filling in blanks that it was dolphins. But there was definitely animals jumping and
Yes. So I,
it just felt very surreal and very exciting that in this place and that these people we were all kind of in this like cool experience together.
yeah, because I know that a lot of first season geos have visions of the Caribbean and the West Indies and Mexico, and then they say you're going to Florida. So maybe, yeah, maybe in your head, you
there
saw
was
those
something
dolphins.
there was something jumping out of the water.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
fine. I know there were definitely a lot of people who were disappointed to be in Florida for their first season. I felt fine with it. I didn't realize, I mean, no one could have known that it ended up being the coldest winter that Florida had seen in 60 years.
What?
So it was definitely not once we got a little settled, it was not the like traditional winter in Florida experience, which I just find funny. I feel like I've listened to a lot of your other episodes with other people about their first seasons, and I feel like mine was so non-traditional in so many different ways that it makes me laugh. I love it. I think it was great.
Well, yeah, and I can't, we're both East Coasters, and myself being from Montreal, I can't help but snicker when I hear someone say it was the coldest winter in Florida, which is probably an easy day in January here in Montreal,
Oh,
like minus 20 or 4, whatever. I'm sure,
yeah.
like, please, we'll show you cold.
Yeah, where you are, I know it gets a
Yeah,
little colder in
yeah,
Montreal.
yeah.
For us, I mean, for me, being in Florida, yes, if I was going on vacation to Florida and it was 45 degrees, I would be disappointed. And I know some of the geos that had not experienced something like that were not thrilled about it. But for me, I was still wearing skirts and shorts. There were some days when it was a little chillier than others, but for me, it didn't bother me that much because it was still the warmest winter I had ever experienced.
So are you saying that you found these white shorts after all? Did you find
I
them in
I
New York?
did find white shorts.
Okay,
That
okay,
was the
good.
benefit. Once I got settled and I made friends with other geos that had a car, we went to the mall. I had found a couple pairs on because again, 2009 was long enough ago that it was a little harder to do your online shopping at that time. But I did happen to find a couple. I had enough to get me started. And then once I got settled there in Florida, there's always shorts in Florida.
Well, yeah, and this is the benefit of Florida. You can, on your day off, go shopping and go see a movie or whatever, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So why don't you tell me about your team? Like, how big was your boutique team? Who was your boss? Can you tell me any of that?
Sure. Our boutique team was four of us. So Mark was the lead of the boutique. He had been there.
Excuse me, Mark. Who?
Mark, I think his last name is Vanderhoff.
Okay, everyone. Mark Vanderhoff. Everyone, take a shot of espresso or whatever. So if you listen to the podcast, Michelle, Mark Vanderhoff's name comes up so much, we made it a drinking game. Drinking could be espresso or whatever. So, okay. So it's out there. Everyone take a shot. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Love Mark.
Proceed.
So incredible. Mark should be on the pod.
I know,
Mark,
right? Okay.
yes, he was such a wonderful person. He had so many cool experiences all over the world and had been doing it for so long and just was such a wonderful character. I feel like so many of the people I met in Club Med, that's how I would describe them, as just like really wonderful characters of people that made it, just illustrated everything. It was awesome. So Mark was our head of the boutique. He also did a lot of the ordering and purchasing for the other resorts in like the North America division. His partner Jack worked with us as well. It was me, and then it was Feruze, who was from Iran, I believe. And she was wonderful. It was such a nice little team. We were kind of in our own little world, and we had fun. I remember like I had my laptop with me, like I brought burning CDs and bringing them in there and like listening to Adele's first album in the boutique. Stuff like little things like that that just always bring me back. But we had a really fun team, and Mark and Jack also worked pretty closely with corporate in Miami. I think because of Sandpiper having gone through this small renovation, and they had told us we were reopening December of 2009, and then they were planning to close August of 2010 to do a much broader renovation of the whole resort. So it was a sort of an unusual, like, kind of season and a half that people were there or expected to be there. So for that reason, there were corporate people and a lot from Miami. Like listening to your podcast and hearing people's names and stuff, there were definitely people that I met while I was there that I didn't know their whole history, but have learned now how rooted in the lore of Club Med they are. So that
Uh,
was pretty cool.
Excuse me, Michelle. Did you say that? Well, you played Adele. Did you play Adele in the boutique or no? Just by yourself?
No, in the boutique, like I would
Really?
Mark was
Did
pretty
did people
I
start
don't
break out crying then in the boutique? Because you would think, because Adele's power over us, right? Like we just start
know
crying, and
Adele's power.
I know her debut album, yes, was 19, and that album is full of heartbreak. So I'm just curious, do people start crying when they're buying bubble gum or something?
It would have been incredible if they did, though.
Okay.
It was just that's one of because he said I don't know if it was maybe now I'm like, was I breaking rules in Club Med that I didn't even know about? That we were
No.
listening to non like Club Med music in the
Yeah.
boutique, but it was funny like that was one of the albums that I like brought in that his rule was sort of like, no swearing and keep it kind of like gentle and adult contemporary pop. So it was like Adele 19. There was the Dave Matthews Band album Busted Stuff. We listened to that. And then yeah, those were the two that stick out to me that were on pretty heavy rotation. It was Lady Gaga had put out her first album, and I do remember now that we're talking about it. I do remember playing Lady Gaga's first album and Mark and Jack almost like choreographing a routine as the song was playing, sort of dancing around. It was great. It was absolutely wonderful. That was definitely more upbeat than Adele.
Okay, that's right. Now, in this boutique, do you ever get any like interesting or unusual questions from guests, or no, or everything is just standard in there?
Standard. We were selling these power bands, they were called, that were supposed to sort of like, I don't remember exactly what
Oh no, I think I
their
remember
tag.
these. It kind of had to do with the body, right, and the circadian flow of the
Yes.
body or something like this. No, I remember those. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So it was something where it strengthened you when you put it on. And so that was our big thing, was people were asking about it because they had never heard of it. And it was like if you had somebody stick their arm out and you put weight on it, they'd kind of fall over. And then if you put the band on their arm and did the same thing, they were stronger. So I feel like it was a lot of people asking about the bracelets and then doing this little demonstration that worked I mean, it worked every time because that's what the whole deal was with
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I mean,
So
you
it was a lot of that.
yeah, you're there in 2009. It's not that long ago, but it feels when I say it like the iPhone came out in 2007, right? So you're there in
Mm-hmm.
2009, but while I'm talking to you, it shouldn't feel that long ago, but it does. Do you feel that way or no when you look back at your
I
first
abs
season? Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely do. It feels like a moment in time because I would maybe like a quarter of the geos had iPhones, and I'm fairly confident they had Wi-Fi at the resort, which was pretty progressive for the time, but it was not consistent. And I still had a flip phone for the majority of the time I was there.
Oh,
So,
really? You're rocking that flip phone?
oh yeah. So
Okay.
even that, like the idea of having a flip phone and not being on the internet or having access to the internet 24 hours a day, that's what makes it feel very, very, very long ago.
Okay. And I believe you were also there with another my first season guest, Julia Fitzgerald. Was she at the reception then?
Yes, she was at reception, and also Casey Dell. I know his brother Boone was
Yes.
on,
Boone.
and
Shout out Boone.
shout out to Boone, and his wife, who he met after
That's
that,
right.
was also on. That was,
Right.
listening to their love story was so
Right.
beautiful because I that was his first season. You know, we did our first seasons together. So it's so I knew his brother had worked for Club Med, and was his brother and Susie, I believe, is his wife. They were in and out of the resort every once in a while. But it was so beautiful to know how Casey kind of grew through Club Med and had this beautiful meeting with his wife, and so sweet. And
Oh,
her history with
oh,
Club Med.
you mean Carly Ann? Carly Ann, right?
Carly, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Carly Ann. Yes, Carly Ann. Okay. Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, great. I'm still working on getting you on, Casey. Don't feel comfortable. Okay. Shout out Carly and Casey and Julia. Wow. And so did they like I'm wondering at one point the choreographer must have been sniffing around you like and like, fresh meat. Do they throw you in the shows or no? Or what did you not do any shows that season?
Very lucky that I somehow managed to get out of the shows. The
What?
choreographer, I know, it's shocking. The choreographer we had was, she became my best friend at Club Med. We're still Instagram friends. Her name was Carrie, and she was amazing. It was her first season too. They had sent her, I believe, to Punta Cana to get a feel for her role, and then she came, so she started a little bit later, like not very much, maybe a couple weeks after the rest of us did in December. And she was so sweet and she was amazing. And yeah, definitely wanted, there was a little bit of a push for what show was I going to be in. And I was so, again, not to make an excuse, but being my age, where I was excited to do this and I wanted to do this, but there was definitely a lot of fear of just stage fright. I had never done anything like that before. So I did, when we would have Geo presentation, I think it was Friday nights, we'd all have to stand on the stage. And I powered through. I did it, but no, I did not. I was not in any shows.
Lucky.
I know.
Which means, I like the shows, I just didn't like rehearsal.
Yes. Yeah, I can imagine those late night, early morning rehearsals were probably
Yeah,
a lot.
not the funnest part, but you know.
No.
So I think your chief at this time is Jean-Marc Desi, right? So
Yes.
since you arrive right before Christmas, I guess you had to work Christmas Day like we all did, right? And it's usually Christmas, New Year's are the busiest days, right?
Yes, absolutely. It was cool. Fun to see what sort of animation thing was going to happen for those holidays. Yeah, I remember New Year's, they had champagne towers, and I didn't mind it. It was just a fun, we were all there together, everyone was in it. We were all kind of having our little club bed fun time together. So it didn't feel lonely or sad. And I mean, of course, I missed my family because it was strange to not be with my family, but it was pretty cool.
But could you call your family on said flip phone or no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I talk to my
Oh,
family all the time. My mom was so excited for me to be there. She came to visit me pretty much once a month when
what?
I was there. She'd come for a couple days.
Now, was mom taking advantage of the friends and family discount or she already had a discount?
She was so excited she would have come without a discount.
Okay.
She didn't even care about that.
You should have recreated that
Actually,
photo when you were a baby and she'd hold you up at the bar. You know, I don't know how strong your mom is, but that would have been cool, right?
think about that, but you're absolutely, I will say, actually, there was one night, we're a Crazy Science family. It was Crazy Science are fun. And like this was maybe May, so like I had been there quite a while at that point. That the post show bar Crazy Signs that we did one night when she was there, they let her and I kind of lead the Crazy Signs. She got to pick the ones that she wanted to do. So that was a big thrill. Not to speak for her, but I think that was up there for her. It was definitely fun to like Crazy Signs. I had to get over my stage fright for that night, and I did it, and it was awesome. It was a
Did you,
great memory.
did you have a like a personal favorite crazy sign when you were there?
I loved Shake It. That was the one that they created in Sandpiper. Again, very of the time. There was a Metro station song called Shake It. That was our sort of signature Sandpiper one. Whenever I hear that song now, it makes me happy and makes me
Yeah.
want to do the crazy sign wherever I am.
This question comes up a lot. So if you're in the grocery store and that song comes on, do you have to stop yourself from dancing?
I don't have to stop myself, but I'm definitely doing the choreography in my head.
Okay.
I can't say that I didn't the 4th of July after I came home, I had maybe indulged in some adult beverages and having a great time with my friends on the 4th of July. And I may have put on some crazy signs and was leading crazy signs in my living room to much to the chagrin of my friends who are like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this is it." And so we did crazy signs.
Okay.
I've tried to incorporate it into my regular life. People are not really that interested. They don't really get it. But the
Yeah,
people who
like
get it, get
yeah,
it.
and you're what you're doing right now is like the coolest thing. They don't get it. And I guess your stage fright is cured at this point, I'm guessing, right?
I would say now, if somebody came to me, 38-year-old Michelle, and said, "Okay, 2 weeks, you got to go back and live the Geo life." I would be a different Geo now. I would be more tired, but it would be, I think I could power through it in a different way.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be freezing ourselves off here in the winter right now in the East Coast. So
That's
I
very
think it'd be a
true.
pretty easy decision on my part. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Well, and since Sandpiper is sadly not a part of Club Med anymore, it would force us to have to go to Turks or Columbus or someplace even warmer and more exotic. So it
That
would
make
definitely,
did that make you sad when you heard that?
it did make me sad. It was super sad. It was even just seeing it after the renovation. It was beautiful, of course, because I actually went back for vacation. I'm trying to think of what year. Maybe it was 2 years later. We had gone back after they renovated the village. It was funny because I had spent time there, and then you get back and like I felt like I didn't know where anything was. The pools were different. It was different. I loved the way that it looked when I was there, partially because that's what I was familiar with, and partially just because it was a very like old Florida, like very Floridian, I guess I should say. So that was kind of cool. And it made me sad. I know that they took down the circus tent as part of the renovation. So that was a little bittersweet just because when I tell people, oh yeah, I worked at a circus, they are very confused by it. But I will say that I did. That was pretty cool. So it was bittersweet when they got rid of the circus tent, and then when they left the Club Med altogether, it was sort of sad.
Yeah, yeah, it is, right? That's what I hear from a lot of geos that work there. They really do miss it.
Yeah,
Okay, tell me, Michelle, at this Club Med, because I didn't encounter this very often in the resorts I worked at, was there a Club Med artist program at Sandpiper in 2009?
there was. We had a few that were really fun and really cool. The first one was this guy named Mr. Nicky, who was he would perform in the Kitty Club. He had, I think, one or two albums of children's songs that he had released prior to this. So he came to do that. And the boutique, twice a week, we had tie-dye events in the children's club. So he would perform at that. And he was really talented. And he ended up liking the environment so much that he became a GO. So one minute he was an artist, and then he decided to be a GO. He was from Chicago. So he left Florida, went to Chicago, got his stuff, got his car, came back, and was a GO with all of us. And he was really nice. Being a children's performer, it's like, okay, you know, that was what we knew him as until one night in the bar, there was another Club Med artist named Sebastian who was from Montreal. I know him and Jean-Marc knew each other. So he would be there. He came maybe 4 or 5 times in the couple months that I was there. And Sebastian would play his guitar along to an iPod and sing along. He had a beautiful voice. That Kings of Leon song, Sex on Fire, had just come out. So he played that a lot. And one night he was in the bar and he was taking requests. And somebody requested he sing American Pie by Don McLean. And Sebastian very kindly said, I'm Canadian. I don't know that song. And Mr. Nicky goes up to him and was kind of nervous and says, you know, song, like, would you mind if I borrowed your guitar? Like, I can play that. And so Sebastian kind of looked at him because again, we knew Mr. Nicky is his little children's songs that he sang. Mr. Nicky took that guitar and Mr. Nicky killed American Pie. He did such an incredible job. And all of us GOs were like, Nicky has a side we did not know about. And it was so funny. He did such a great job. And then it broke him out of his shell because there were other times. I remember one night we had a full band that was there, and my friend Carrie called me. She's like, "You have to get to the bar right now." And I said, "All right, I'm on my way. What's going on?" She's like, "I can't even tell you. You have to be here right now." And I walk in, and there was this band that they had backup singers. It was like a pretty big band that was performing in the bar, and Mr. Nicky was singing "Honky Tonk Woman" by the Rolling Stones. And again, just I have the grainiest, most terrible flip phone video of him singing this that is so blurry you can't even really see it, but I know what it is. And it was so funny. Like I said, when my mom had come that time in May that we did Crazy Signs together, she had brought a group of like 20 people. And I remember we had a staff meeting. So it was late at night, and like afterwards Mr. Nicky like sat with my mom's group of GMs, and he like just took requests and played songs on his guitar. It was so cool.
Well, a couple of things. Did Mr. Nicky play all 8 minutes and 42 seconds of American Pie? Because
I better believe that
that's
he did.
how long that song is. For 49 years, American Pie was the longest song until who broke it? Taylor Swift did a 10-minute version of All Too Well. But okay, so he played the whole entire song. Okay,
Yes, he did. And like
nice.
I said, really killed it. Didn't miss a beat. It was probably my best moment of being in Club Med because it was totally unexpected.
Okay, well, yeah, that is a great memory, and I probably should have asked you when you mentioned like you went to Club Med Paradise Island when you were 10, right? Now,
Hmm.
is there something that you remember? Like, do you have any memories from that one?
Yes, it was so beautiful. And I remember they had this classical music area that you could just sort of sit and they played classical music, which was really cool. But my fondest memory of that was what I know now was one of their animators of the word that they use for it, but he did this sort of gag where at the beginning of the day, he's in a like a not really a tuxedo, but like a suit, like a butler's uniform. And he has this little plant and a sign in it that says Mrs. Jones. So he's going around breakfast, kind of approaching all the tables like Mrs. Jones, like as if he's looking for Mrs. Jones to deliver this plant. And as the day went on, he was getting sweatier and he was getting a little more frustrated and the plant was growing. And so the whole day that was the gag was he was like looking for Mrs. Jones until finally that night at the show, he came out like his hat's falling off and his suit's kind of apart and the plant is totally overgrown. And he like just approached a GM and like was like Mrs. Jones, like as if he found her. It was so, and that is something that my family and I, like my mom and I will still, she'll send me cards sometimes just like from Mrs. Jones. And I know that that's what she's talking about. So whatever that like simplest, silliest, like doesn't have to be a dirty joke, was the funniest thing that we still think about, 30 years later, Mrs. Jones.
Yeah, no, while you were saying that, it was jogging my memory. Like I do believe I've seen this passage before, but I totally forgot about it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the word passage.
yeah, that's one of my questions. Like, what was your favorite crazy sign? Another is, yeah, like what was your most favorite passage that an animator did? And so, now we know that's yours.
Oh yeah.
Cool. I'd like to swerve just away from Club Med for a second. Michelle, we'll go back to it because I believe in the 4 years I've been doing this, you're the only one that I've encountered who in their current life right now does this. So do you mind telling everyone what you're currently doing?
I work in a restaurant just for a little, excitement. But I am a psychic medium and I read tarot cards. I help to guide people through their lives. Going back to my background in psychology, I met a woman when I was 19 who said to me, "You're psychic. You see things. You're powerful," which I totally did not understand and did not believe at the time. And I started working with her. She became my mentor. She's still my mentor. She's still in my life and made me realize that my my drive and my purpose in life of helping people be the best versions of themselves and navigate their way through life is something that I can do traditionally. I could have done traditionally in like a clinical psychology sense, or I can do the way that I'm doing now of using tarot cards and being a medium in the sense that just like a pen is a medium or this recording device is a medium, I'm a medium. I get messages from spirit. I don't know how people kind of view it in different ways. It's nothing dark or scary or evil, but I get messages that I relay to my clients and it's incredible work and I'm so grateful to be able to do it.
And if anyone out there listening wanted to contact you, would like if we were to post the Instagram for your account in the show notes, they would be able to contact you through that way?
Absolutely. I do in-person readings if you want to trek up to Western New York. I think it's 12 degrees today with a real feel of 3. So if you're into that sort of thing, you can always come and see me in person. Or you could do the much more enjoyable thing, which is contact me on Instagram. We could do a phone call or a Zoom. And like I said, it's connecting with people and helping them figure out their path in life, where they are now and where they're headed. And sometimes advice from a total stranger, it hits a little bit different than your best friend or your coworker. So it's fun to be able to do that. And it feels good. It's good work.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's very kind of you to share that because I like I said, you're the only psychic medium that's ever been on the show. So thank you for sharing
It's
that.
I think in the modern world of the TikTok psychic, it's I haven't dabbled in TikTok quite yet, but
Oh,
I know
I
every
have. I go down the rabbit hole every day.
that's where I'm trying to turned to a simpler time of not wanting to stare at my phone constantly.
Okay, then
So
don't go on TikTok then.
yeah, I know that while it could possibly help my business, it's maybe not the best use of my time because it's not all that. It
Well,
could be.
if you're posting for your business, that's fine. But it's just for my attention span, because you know how our attention spans got so short. They're like
Hmm.
15-second videos, so they're perfect. And my attention span's so short. If you haven't gotten to the point in 8 seconds, I'm already swiping up to the next video. So that's how bad my attention span has got. But I think for a business, as long as you don't, okay, well, I finished posting. Now I'm going to go on and look. Then yeah, that's where you get kind of sucked into it. Then they'll start firing. Well, if you like this video, here's another one.
And
Pretty
see, I'm a
soon you're watching Bashar all day long, like I do. Okay, shout out
and
Bashar.
see, I don't know what that is.
Bashar.
Do
Oh,
I?
he channels he sorry, I have to say this without laughing. He channels an alien and people ask him questions. So either he is or he's memorized every self-help book in the world perfectly and then can regurgitate like the answer, like what
Oh.
happens when we die? Tell me about love. Anything he has an answer for. So yeah, so Bashar, yeah, is very much on TikTok. Okay.
Oh, so you're seeking a psychic, but just in a different way. That
Yeah.
that's how
Well,
we.
yeah,
So this
because
was meaningful. Us,
yeah.
meeting. You needed a psychic on your podcast, not just
Yes.
this guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not even going to ask you. Tell me about me because I'm sure you'll find a lot of stuff there. Like, oh my god. Okay,
I mean,
but
I'm Italian, so I want to talk forever, and the 15 seconds of TikTok it's too limiting for me sometimes. That's
okay,
I have a little more longer attention span, especially when it's talking to people about their own lives.
yeah.
I don't know what happens after we die exactly. I don't have the secrets to life. I don't have the winning lottery numbers.
Oh no, I was just going to ask you for
Unfortunate.
seven
So
seven numbers. Oh darn it. Okay,
yes, if
okay,
people were looking for that, unfortunately, maybe if as I increase my knowledge of the world, that will come to me. I hope not. I think it seems like too much power. It's more of me just sitting down one on one with someone and giving them a more unique and specific approach to their own life and being able to navigate their own things. I don't need to know about the whole world's problems and the whole world's solutions because people probably wouldn't listen even if I did have.
okay, okay, seasoner. So I will be posting Michelle's Instagram link in the show notes. So please make sure you check that out after you finish listening to the episode. And we'll get back to Club Med now. So I am curious, Michelle, like who you mentioned a few names already, but while you were working there, like, did you meet anyone that you really enjoyed working with? Would you like to shout out some people now?
Of course. I mean, like I said, Mark Vanderhoff. I believe it's Vanderhoff. I always want to say
It's
Vanderberg.
it's Vanderhoff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
he
has to
was
be
just
him.
yes, amazing, wonderful, incredible person, incredible human. Him and Jack, I hope they're still together. I don't have Facebook, so I missed out on a little bit there, but I loved him and he was wonderful. Carrie Greenidge, she is, I believe, goes by a married name. Ennis is her married name. So I don't know what she is on Facebook, but Carrie was wonderful. She was like my rock of strength, and I'm so happy to still be in contact with her. Mr. Nicky, I don't know what ever happened to him. I believe he was working in Indonesia, not with Club Med, but doing something else. That was the last I heard. So if anybody knows where he is in this big wide world, I hope he's well. And like I said, to hear about Casey on your podcast and Julia, it's good to know that those people are doing well. But it was a fun crew of people. And Nicola Gala, he was
Yes.
our
So LSM was he at the time? Like
yes,
he's chief of village now, I believe, right? So
yes,
yeah,
I yeah, he was amazing. He was so sweet. So it was definitely a lot of cool people that I got to know while I was there, and I'm very grateful for that.
well, since you still travel a lot, is there anything that you miss about Club Med still to this day?
The chocolate bread,
Okay,
that was
the white chocolate bread.
no, the dark chocolate bread.
There's wait a minute. There's dark chocolate bread now.
Oh, there was dark chocolate
What?
bread.
That's not fair. Okay.
We had, yeah, the bread, the cheese bread. Club Med was amazing. Like I said, I've been to a lot of different places all over the world, and I do think we are very spoiled in Club Med that they had incredible food. So I think about the chocolate bread all the time. And just I'm biased. I loved Club Med. I thought it was cool. But yeah, the chocolate bread is probably the thing that I miss the most.
Wow. That yeah. Well, mine is lunch. Like people think, oh, it's the windsurfing, Greg. It's the what? No, it's lunch because you could eat a hot lunch every day if you chose to. Lunch
Hmm.
isn't like that for me now. I can tell you guys. Okay, it's probably a peanut butter sandwich if I'm lucky. So yeah, I first thing I miss is lunch, and that's people. Okay, but lunch. Oh boy, do I miss lunch? Okay.
Of course, the people, the
Well, yeah,
scenery, you know, once
all
the
your friends are in one place, right? I mean, sure, you might have a lot of friends now. Facebook tells me I have a couple of hundred, but at least when I went to a resort, I had like 60 all in one place, right? I could talk to them and blah blah blah. I didn't have to schedule a meeting or a phone call.
camaraderie, there
Yeah,
was a cool experience of that where, you know, somebody got a new outfit and you kind of noticed it, or like every once in a while, someone would go get a haircut and come back and everything was different. And it was fun being in our little Club Med bubble and getting to experience the
notice
world
it.
in that
Notice.
way.
Did you say notice a new outfit? In my day, they notice if you had a new Pario outfit. Okay, yeah, I guess 2009 is different from my time. Okay.
Well, I mean, plus, you know, the inclement weather, we had to wear a little bit more clothing than,
Yes,
you
that's
know, you were
true.
wearing
Yeah,
in Turks or
because it was
Cancun.
the coldest Florida winter on record. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that one you had to.
Yeah.
Okay, Michelle, we're coming to the end of our time together, but I think I did forget to ask you about someone very important. Can you tell me who George is?
George was the most important person, well, most important thing I met at Club Med. George was our resident peacock. There were a
Okay,
few different,
wait. Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt, but how are you saying George was a pet? He lived on the premises, or was he? Did he have a handler, a feeder?
he lived on the premises. He was a GO, I guess.
Could you pet George, or he didn't let anyone get near him?
He was pretty friendly and I guess maybe was more of the chief of village than a GO, I should say. Because he was a little bit everywhere, like omnipresent. My most fond memory was that the boutique where I worked was there was automatic doors. Like we were in a little, air conditioned boutique. And there was one day where the doors kept opening and closing and no one was coming in or out. And I couldn't see anything. And I was so confused because I'm like, oh, geez, these doors must be broken. And I came over to see what was going on. And George was just sort of pacing in front of the boutique, almost like he was waiting to meet somebody. And then he kind of sat down and the sensor kept catching him. So, and he would walk around and then every once in a while he would fan his feathers out. So you just see him there and people would feed him. They had goldfish crackers at the bar and people would feed that him. So
George would go to the bar, and you could give him a goldfish cracker.
he'd walk in. Oh yeah, he'd walk in and out of the bar. He was very fearless. I there were a few different stories of how he got there. The one that I heard the most was that someone had a wedding and they brought a male and female peacock as part of the wedding. And then I can't remember what I unfortunately think that the female had passed away or had gotten attacked by raccoons or something, which is a little dark. But George was there and you'd see him like sleeping in a tree at night. So I don't know what ended up happening, but with
I
him, with the renovations and all that, but
I know
he
so
was
little.
everywhere.
Yeah, I know so little about peacocks. I remember a number of years ago seeing a video of a woman at an airport getting turned away because they wouldn't let her travel with her emotional support peacock. And, just saying that sentence is like, I didn't know that peacocks were capable of like you could have them as a pet in that regard, like a dog who's happy to see you when you come home. I had no idea like you could have a peacock as a pet. So that's why I'm kind of fascinated now. Like you're telling me that, oh yeah, George would come to the bar and you could give him a goldfish cracker. Like he, like this is mind blowing
Yeah.
to me because I've never had seen a peacock actually in real life. Actually, how I think of it.
That's why it was so strange is he was definitely domesticated in that way. I have never heard of it before or since.
Shout out
It's not like he
George.
would hop up on your lap and want to cuddle with you, but they're pretty, it's pretty big, but he
Mhm.
was a little bit of everywhere. So it was
Wow.
cool to have him there because it added to the charm and the really special feeling of being Club Med was it's like you have the GOs, you have the shows, you have the crazy signs, you have the the fun and frolic of everything. And then you just have this peacock hanging out, like just kind of there.
This is amazing. For only having done one season, Michelle, this has been one fascinating and entertaining and an interesting interview. So man, congrats, because this has been so cool having you share your story with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for doing this podcast. It's such a joy to hear other people. I love hearing about people that went anywhere and everywhere and warm villages and tropical locations and then a ski village. Because I did my one, I experienced it, I lived it. It was incredible. It made a huge impression on my life. And I can never really put into words how grateful I am for the experience that I had, even though it was that short time. It made me a better person. It made me look at service differently in all of the jobs that I have, working with people and just an attention to detail and attention to service. And I think really wanting the overwhelming arc for me of Club Med is wanting people to feel included and feel like a part of a community. And it has had that impact on every job I've had since, of my role of like wanting to bring everybody together for a good time, no matter what I'm doing.
Well, that was well said, Michelle. We should probably end it there because that was a heck of a great answer. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way you do, and are very grateful they took the plunge and applied, and like everyone else. Yeah, I'm so glad I did it and got away from the winter. Okay. Which is also why
Absolutely.
I stayed 10 years personally, because I hate winter, but I had a great time and so glad I did it. Zero regrets, as I'm sure you have as well, right?
Absolutely. It was so cool. It was amazing. Like, yeah, I'm definitely glad. I'm glad I had that little naive brain that thought, yeah, let me just get out of here and do it, not really thinking it through, because it was a really cool experience. And I think it makes the winters a little more tolerable knowing that I had that one break.
Yes, even though you were there, I hate to bring it up again during Florida's coldest winter, but it was still,
Yeah.
compared to us East Coasters, it was probably like a summer, spring day.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
Well, thanks so much again, Michelle, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do. I love hearing everybody's stories.
Oh, thank you. So don't forget to check out the show notes to Michelle's Instagram, everyone, when you're done listening. And we'll see you all here next week with another new episode. Would you like to take us out and thank everyone, Michelle?
Thanks everybody for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.